Hey gang, Joyce Welsh with Skipper Cast Farms here, and look what we have here. We have ourselves some more doodlebug holes. There's 3 of them. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. And when they, oh, here's some more. There's one there. There's one over here. And oh, that's cool. That's way cool. And when an ant comes along and climbs in and starts trying to climb out, that little doodlebug at the bottom, it'll start flipping the sand loose, so it'll knock the ant down to the bottom of the hole, and that little ant will go down to the bottom of the hole and into the mouth of the doodlebug. And a doodlebug is a larval form of a dragonfly. And it takes about 5 years for a little baby doodlebug to get big enough to morph into a dragonfly. Here's some more that are up underneath the leaves, so it kind of protects them a little bit. And so the sand doesn't get blown away. They're all along here, along the side of this track, next to the sea grapes. That makes sense if you think about it, because in the spring, sea grapes have grapes of all things. And so I imagine the sugar attracts ants as well. So as I'm just walking along here, along where these sea grapes are on the side of the road, there's little doodlebug holes all along. They're just little cone shaped, you know, nature's miners. Nature's miners. There's some more over here, all along here. And what they will do, and they'll grow up and become a dragonfly. And dragonflies eat, I don't know how many. It's got to be hundreds, if not thousands, of mosquitoes a day. That's their main food. But back in the 50s and the 60s, when folks my age were little kids, they started fogging with Lord only knows what. I don't know if it was DDT or whatever. And kids would run behind the bug truck in the fog. Yeah, really smart. Because we were treating symptoms. We weren't paying attention to nature. Here's some periwinkles. These periwinkles are just now growing back after the hurricanes have come through and all that salt came through, and that salt washed down, and the seeds that were already in the soil and in the seed bank, once the salt got washed away and the conditions for those seeds to germinate were created again, back pops nature's answer to the situation. The plants that are needed to maintain and stabilize the ecology back behind the sand dunes. And I mean, if you look around, the only place you see bare ground is along this path where the road is. This is a state park property. Everywhere else, wherever possible, nature has covered the ground. And where nature hasn't covered the ground, well, you've got it armored with shell, and where you do have loose sand, you have life, because you got doodlebug holes, right? So nature has already solved every problem, and the key is not to treat the symptoms. The key is not to have a system. The key is to humble yourself and go, look, do I want to be right, or do I want to be healthy, happy, and wealthy? And if the answer is the second of the two, then you need to start paying attention to Mother Nature, because Mother Nature is the only one who's got all of the problems solved. So if there's a symptom that you come up with on your property and you don't know how to deal with it, what are you going to do? You're going to observe. What's Mother Nature do? You're going to do like Ian Mitchell talks about. You're going to set up an exclusion zone or or perhaps an inclusion zone, to see, well, if I do this, which is what I've seen nature do in the past, I do this with my livestock, or I do this with my plants, or whatever, what's the impact? And just see. And that's how you solve the problem. That's how you keep your management moving forward in terms of the amount of life and the quality of life on your property, and how you keep your overheads to a minimum, how you keep your management moving forward, and your property becoming more productive. Any of you, if you ever have an opportunity to go to a grazing school with Ian Mitchell-Ennis, I cannot recommend it highly enough. Ian Mitchell-Ennis is from South Africa, and basically he took his family's farm from having a carrying capacity of 1 animal unit per 3 hectares, or you could call it an acre if you want, to 1 animal unit to 0.4. That's like getting 6.5 farms for free. He's able to carry 6.5 times the number of animals on the same number of acres. And that's pretty amazing. That's the kind of person I want to find out what they're doing. Now, I don't know if y'all can see this, but right in here are little footprints. There's little footprints right here. It almost looks like a little footprint. And here, this looks like a little handprint. That's raccoon tracks. Raccoon was walking down this way last night, or the last couple of days. And they're pretty interesting critters. They're pretty opportunistic and very, very smart. So, the key is to understand. I don't care who you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how much you know about how much you know. There is always going to be a whole lot more that you don't know than you do know. There is always going to be one person somewhere on the planet that knows more than you know about absolutely everything. So get off your high horse, be willing to learn, be willing to work, and be willing to change how you think, because Mother Nature doesn't care, and neither does anybody else. Your customers don't care what you think. Your animals don't care what you think. Your land doesn't care what you think. All they care about is how you think and how you can make things better and healthier for them, and more profitable for you, quite frankly. So what you think doesn't matter. How you think is key. So learn from the Doodle box. What really matters is you got to deal with where you're at. And if this is where you're at, you better be ready when the ant falls in, or you're going to starve. So trains come into the station, they stop for a few minutes, and they move on. The train of opportunity for everybody does the same thing. If you're not prepared to get on board and take advantage of the ride, you're going to miss out. With that, gang, my phone doesn't really like it back here. I'm getting a lot of reflection of heat and light from the sun. It's in the upper 80s. There's a nice breeze, but it's warm. So with that, gang, as you can, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to try and zoom out or zoom in. There's the dunes, and there's the water right beyond the dunes, right there. I'm going to say blessings for the day, and whatever you do, just keep chasing the dream.